Hi, my name is Ryan. I'm going to go through the Healthy Home Movement's design stage glossary. Just a quick recap through all the definitions and any particular items. It's only meant to be a very high level explanation for each. If you need to know any more, please feel free to give us a call. So, client, end user. I often refer to this as the physical person actually living in the building. So it's the actual person who's actually going to take ownership, who's actually going to be affected about what's going to be in the building and how they intend to use the space. This might be slightly different to the person who physically owns the building in the case of if you build to rent or just leasing out the building. A building control officer. A building control officer is often also abbreviated to BCO. They are the ones that will eventually sign off your building regarding to building regulations. If you get a good building control officer, they will help the design team understand and also help with design, not decisions so to speak, but to help clarify some of the building regulations. In some, I appreciate that you probably think they're quite finite, but some of them are actually a little bit subjective in certain areas. So, it's very important to get a good building control officer on board. MEP, Building Environmental Engineer. I'm a building services engineer. Can be referred to as an MEP person, which is mechanical, electrical and plumbing. Which is public health. Building environmental engineer is the same sort of thing. Our remit is to design your internal environment in any building. Civil engineer often is done by the structural engineer. One key thing to anything below slab height, it's classed as civil engineering. So civil engineering is the foul and rainwater in certain instances, and also runoff from hard standing, for example driveways or long driveways, that needs to be covered by a civil engineer. A QS, probably not really used that often in a residential building, stands for quantity surveyor. They are very useful, particularly if you're valuing what work has been done on site, but also they give you a much better understanding how much your building is going to cost in the beginning. Unfortunately, there is no price tag on new buildings. It's pretty much because you're building a bespoke item, so a QS can provide you a much better understanding how much your building is going to cost. It's better to know that you can't afford it early on, and then you can down spec certain areas, but above all, maybe you might find it's cheaper, but a good QS is like a good accountant. They will save you money in the long run. So design stages: pre-planning, post-planning. It's pretty obvious. Anything carried out before planning is very risky, because you might not physically get planning permission. It's always good to chat to a planning advisor, your architect, or anybody who is very in tune with the planning regulations in your area. Design after planning is when you actually physically know that you can actually start. You'll be able to get permission to build your building. SAP and EPCs. A SAP is effectively the energy rating for a building, and you need to achieve minimum efficiency in your building. This is carried out by a SAP assessor, and the same also is an energy performance certificate. TDM is the construction design management regulations. This is for making sure that all buildings are built safely. Unfortunately, accidents still occur on site, and it's also to do with building and maintaining buildings. As the client, you are responsible. You need to make sure that you understand your responsibilities. In domestic markets, this is relatively new. You can put this requirement onto a main contractor, but you need to make sure this is very well written into your contracts. Tender is effectively when you go out to the market to get a price. you send out tender documents to contractors. They will then price up against that tender document, so you'll have a much better understanding of how much your building is going to cost you. Depending on the quality of your tender documents will also depend on the quality of that tender figure. So you have a very bad tender sum, tender documents, you're going to get a bad tender sum, because you don't know how, you can't be that confident that they've allowed for everything that you wanted, or they may have had to make a lot of assumptions and put a lot of contingencies in there. Or if you have a very good tender document set, this can actually save you time and effort in the long run. This actually is pretty much what is done on all commercial projects, is to make sure that you have a very good commercial contract, and to make sure that everything is written down, which then removes all the ambiguities. Main contractor. The main contractor is the person who is responsible for the whole site. So a lot of new builds are actually taking this responsibility on themselves. Self-builders try and do this and subcontract all the trades to, say, plumbers, electricians, to structural elements. But the main contractor, if you employ them as the main contractor, they take responsibility for the whole site. They own the site until, well, it's not the ground, but they take responsibility for the whole site until you agree to hand it back. Subcontractor, I've alluded to this a little bit. The subcontractor is someone who is a contractor to the main contractor. So this main contractor will sub out packages of work to subcontractors. Fixed cost, open book. I can't really debate over which one would be best for your project, but a fixed cost is effectively a tender, a lump sum money that they've a guarantee that your project is going to be delivered for that amount of money. Problem is that there are certain issues with that. Is that if you change your mind, they'll cost a lot of money to do any changes, unless you're very good QS, and also it's very hard monitoring quality. If you don't monitor it properly, then will try and scrimp and save as much money to get the maximum profit from it. An open book, which is effectively they will provide you with a list of their overheads and profits, and like if you change something like for like, you just change the price in an open way, rather than you know exactly how much profit they're making on certain aspects of the building. Schedule rates, more often than not, probably doesn't get asked for in domestic installations, but this is effectively just understanding how they price the job up, mainly because if there's any changes. At least if there's a change, you've got something to stand against. If they come back with some like ridiculous cost, you change something, they'll come back with the city cost, and you're like, well, how did you base that on? At least if you've got schedule rates, you've got a good understanding of what they're based on. Cost certainty and contingency. So I talked about this in another video. Is that the higher cost certainty you have on a project, so you know, say for instance, if you're 80% or 90% cost certainty, you know that your figure that you've got in your budget is going to be 90% there on the final sum. Because you're never really going to get 100% cost certainty, even with lump sums. You're never really 100% cost certain, because the contractor can find something and change something. You might want to change your mind. So the greater the cost certainty, the lower the contingency, and vice versa. The lower the cost certainty, the higher the contingency. Please speak to your architect or QS on what you need to have as a decent contingency. A lot of people go and build homes and particular buildings without any contingency and find out that they go into a lot more debt than they need to, or the project would have to shut down because things do go wrong on site and there are a lot of risks, so you need to allow for that. Design liability, minimum PI insurance. So you would have employed an architect, a structural engineer, maybe a building service engineer, and it's important to make sure that they have enough PI and professional insurance. So if even a small problem can cost a lot of money. So even if their fees are relatively low, they need to still have a decent amount of insurance. So I mean, I've worked on one project where the contractor took on their mini responsibility. They messed it up, and then the client tried to get them to fix it, and then they declared they eventually had to try and take them to court. But because they didn't have any PI insurance, they just had to shut up shop. There was no way for the client to get any money from them, because they didn't have any money at all to give them that and put everything back into position. So it's very important to understand who holds design responsibility and liability throughout the project, and if something does go wrong, have they got the insurances in place to be able to pay for anything that does go wrong. As a professional, I'm a chartered building service engineer. As one of the main criteria for me to stay chartership is I have to carry sufficient design and professional liability insurance bonds. There's always risk, and on a project everybody treats risk differently. There are many types of insurances out there, many different types of bonds out there. On some large commercial projects, clients would take out a bond out on the main contractor. So if they went bust, the bond would pay out, because it can be very expensive. If a contractor goes bust halfway through a project, it could sometimes actually cost more than the whole contract sum, because to make the building safe and secure when the contractor has gone bust, you've got to shell out a lot of money, so the insurance will cover that. One of the key things I would recommend anybody to do and ask for their contractors to do is to try and give them a cash flow forecast on your project. A cost to a project is not linear. It is by far, it's more of an S-shape, S-curve, that you spend a lot of money, particularly a lot of your contingency, in just getting out of the ground. Once it's out of the ground, it's a little bit slow, very quickly, and then it teeters off to a point, and then it changes. It's always good, particularly if you're asking where you're going to get your money from in terms of banks and stuff like that. It's always important to make sure that you're not the one holding up the project because you haven't got enough money in the bank at the right time. Valuations occur on typical construction projects about once a month. This could be completely different on domestic projects where they're a lot smaller and in theory go a lot quicker. It's completely up to you and your contractor how you do this. Your QS can probably also advise you as well, an architect, but effectively it values the amount of work that is carried out on site. You never really want to be paying for work that hasn't been carried out for many reasons, mainly because give them all the money and they run away with your money. There's not much to protect you with that. It's best to pay after they've done the work or brought things to site. It's always good to also, particularly as one advantage of having QS, they're an independent person. They can then assess and evaluate the value of work and only release funds in accordance with that. Handover. This is something that doesn't really get talked about too well. I think it's very important to understand in your mind and portray this to the client, to contractor, what is the bare minimum completeness of the building, or the level of completeness of the building you're willing to take back the building and accept the building as your own. If you're doing this as having lots of subcontractors, then it's always yours. But if you've got a main contractor on board, it's very important to understand what do you consider to be done. Because what I'm saying is that a lot of people think that handover is literally the day it finishes and you move in the next day. So this often is not the case. You still, as a client, will want to do second fix on certain things. Like, for instance, you might have a special AV person or a special, fridges, freezers you want to get in or take ownership. You can't physically insure it, until you take ownership. So since some projects it's been a bit catch-22. They wanted to get things on site, but they couldn't insure it because it's not considered a building yet, and it's important to talk that through. Snag non-compliance. A snag non-compliance is a list of items that is not compliant with the contract documents. So for instance, if you said you wanted a brown light switch and it comes out to be a blue light switch, that will be on your snag sheet, or a non-compliance. So it's not compliant with the tender. That's then down to yourself and the contract to negotiate. A, do you keep it in, or B, do you get it removed, or to keep it in and ask them for a discount, or vice versa. It's generally down to the client and the contractor to work out what the ramifications are from that. Next one, VAT. As you probably appreciate, building a house has VAT issues. There are certain things you can claim VAT back on, certain things you cannot claim VAT back on. So if in doubt, please contact the QS or a good accountant who is familiar with claiming VAT on new build homes. Defects, liability and retention. This is another thing, probably another advantage of getting a good QS on board. They can advise you on a good retention policy. So you finish the project, you don't want to pay the full sum of money to the contractor, because even though they technically handed over the project, there might be still snags in the pipeline. You still need to have enough money in the account to make sure that they will come back and finish the project and finish any niggling things that you find out in the first year of ownership. Generally this is either a 1 or 2 year period until the final payment is made. And then the same applies for the defects liability period. So anything, it's pretty much like a warranty, but slightly a bit different. If anything happens between that defects liability period, the contractor is responsible to replace it or make it good. After that, it's your sort of your responsibility. I mean, you can pass that on to insurance companies, but they need to also be happy that you've got good enough quality. Again, please speak to a QS. O&M is more often than not, these aren't done very well. They're called operations and manuals. Effectively, it's just a folder. It could be on CD, it could be on digitally. It's best to physically have a physical folder because digital copies go missing over time. It literally tells you how to operate and maintain your building manual, and simple as that really. What we always recommend is to have a quick or easy guide to follow that literally outlines all the heating, cooling, ventilation or whatever you got in the building, and how a simple guide on how to use stuff. Then in the manual it should literally give you as installed drawings and in particular what's being installed, and there should be at least something in there that tells you what you need to maintain and how to maintain it. Very important. A bit strange, it's not considered, well, it is starting to become a necessity under regulations, but it's not really been done properly in the past. Risk register. It's always good to include a few risk registers on a project. So what we talked about in another previous video is about how to manage your risk. Every project has its own risk. There are obviously known knowns, unknowns, or whatever, stuff like that, but there are key things to put down. So the two key registers are risk in terms of time and money. So there's certain things you might not know about, might not be able to solve. At least then it's a place for you to understand what level of risk you're working to. And then there's the CDM regulations risk register, which definitely should be filled out before construction on site. If in doubt, please contact your architect or CDM coordinator, who will talk you through what your responsibilities are and your design team's responsibilities. Another register is good to keep is an Nara File list, which stands for Request for Information. This tracks what information is required within the construction or design stages. It also ensures things don't get forgotten. There's a lot of things going on in the project, a lot of things get missed, and by just putting everything into a central location, this can either be managed by an individual administrator, yourself, or your architect, but it's very useful to keep on track of this. Particularly, it makes sure that you don't hold up any of the construction process, and you get those annoying calls at night saying, oh, we needed a decision straight away because we're about to do something tomorrow, and you have to make a decision very late on. So those have been the glossary for the healthy home movement design stages. So I hope you found them useful. Please subscribe to the channel below, and if you'd like or have any questions, please give me a message, either leave it in the comments or give me a ring or an email. If you'd like to know more about how to join the healthy home movement and what it is about, please email us or visit our website. Thank you very much. If you're going to build a home, please build a healthy home. Thank you.